Okay, so in the last lecture, we have seen Lissajous figures in which when two simple harmonic motions they are traveling at right angles to each other superimpose at a point simultaneously, then the resultant path traced by that particular particle will be the curves, and we will get different curves depending on the amplitude and the phase difference between the two simple harmonic waves. Sometimes we may get the straight lines in the first and third quadrant. Sometimes we may get the straight lines in the second and fourth quadrant. Sometimes we may get the oblique ellipse. Sometimes we may get the perfect ellipse, and sometimes we may get the circle also. So depending on the phase difference and amplitudes of different SHMs, we may get different figures, and all these different figures are called as Lissajous figures. Okay, so this was a very important topic. Next important topic in this particular unit is the stationary waves. These stationary waves are also sometimes called as a standing waves. So how these stationary waves or standing waves are formed? So you can see this particular diagram. Okay, so if you have a simple harmonic wave, suppose one simple harmonic wave is moving from left to right. One simple harmonic wave is suppose moving from left to right, and there is another simple harmonic wave which is moving in exactly opposite direction from right to left. Okay, one simple harmonic wave is moving from left to right, another simple harmonic wave is moving from right to left. Okay, for simplicity we will consider that the frequencies of both these waves are same. Now when these two waves traveling in opposite direction, if they interfere with each other, then whatever resultant wave which we are getting, this resultant wave is called as a standing wave or stationary wave. Now you see, this resultant wave is called as a stationary wave or standing wave, and it is represented like this. Okay, but see, this particular stationary wave or standing wave is very different than that of the normal simple harmonic wave, which is nothing but the progressive wave. Normal simple harmonic wave starts from one point and it may progress anywhere in the space. But whenever we get the stationary wave, this stationary wave does not move at all. Okay, this stationary wave does not move at all, and there will be no flow of energy from one point to the another point. Whenever a simple harmonic wave moves from one point to the another point, it also carries energy along with it, right? But whenever we get the standing wave or stationary wave, energy does not flow out of that particular wave. Okay, or energy does not flow with respect to the space. The energy is means the energy is also contained inside the wave itself. Okay, it is not propagated from one point to the another point. Now again, what is another speciality of the standing wave? So in case of standing wave, now this is the representation of the standing wave. So in case of standing waves, there are certain positions. Okay, for example, this particular position which is represented by a blue letter N, this particular position which is also represented by a blue letter N. So there are certain positions, this position also, this position also. So there are certain positions at which particles in a medium does not vibrate at all. Particles in a medium does not vibrate at all. So this particular position, the particles in this particular position does not vibrate at all, and such a positions are called as nodes. Such a positions are called as a nodes. Now there are also some positions, for example this particular position, this particular position, this particular position. So there are certain positions at which particles in a medium vibrates with maximum amplitude. So you can see that if the particle is here, it is vibrating with maximum amplitude. Here also it is vibrating with maximum amplitude. Here also it is vibrating with maximum amplitude. So the positions where the particles are vibrating with maximum amplitude, such a positions are called as a antinodes. So a stationary wave is characterized by a node and antinode, node and antinode. So there are so many nodes and there are so many antinodes in the stationary waves, and at all other points, okay, so if you leave the node and antinode, at all other points particles will be vibrating with different amplitudes. Okay, it will be vibrating with amplitude greater than 0 and less than the maximum amplitude, okay, which is present at the place of antinode. So you can easily see that in the case of stationary waves, the amplitude of the wave, the amplitude of the particles inside the wave, they are changing. It is starting from 0, becomes maximum, again reaching towards 0, again become maximum, again reaching towards 0, again become maximum, and again reaching towards 0. Okay, so amplitude of the wave or amplitudes of the particles inside the wave, they are continuously changing. Okay, so what are the characteristic of a stationary wave? Stationary wave, inside the stationary wave there is no movement of the energy from one position to the other. In case of stationary wave, there is a formation of alternate nodes and antinodes, and we will see in the next formulation that the distance between a node and antinode is lambda by 4, and distance between two antinodes or two nodes is lambda by 2. Okay, so it can be easily seen from this particular diagram. This is a complete wave, this is a complete wave. Okay, so the wavelength will be lambda. This is a complete wave, so this much distance will be lambda. So half of that distance will be lambda by 2. So here it is node, here it is also node. So distance between two nodes will be lambda by 2. Similarly, distance between two antinodes will also be lambda by 2. But distance between a node and antinode, it will be lambda by 4. Right? So this is about stationary waves or standing waves. Now we will see the analytical treatment, how to give the mathematical, how to analyze this particular situation mathematically. So what we will consider two types of wave. The displacement of one wave is represented by y1, and displacement of the another wave is represented by y2. Actually here it should be y2. Okay, so there is a mistake from my side. Right, so one wave is moving from left to right. So this particular wave is represented by y1 is equal to a sine 2 pi by lambda Vt minus x. Minus indicates here that the wave is moving from negative to positive direction, left to right direction. Small a is the amplitude. And the another wave which is moving from right to left. So here it should be y2. The displacement of that particular wave is suppose y2. So y2 will be equal to a sine 2 pi by lambda Vt plus x. So plus indicates here that the wave is moving from right to left. Right? Again you can easily see that it is moving with the same velocity v. Time period is also same. Wavelength is also same. Okay, and the amplitudes of these two waves are also same. So for simplicity, for simple calculations, we are considering this. Okay, and according to the superposition principle, the resultant displacement means when these two waves traveling in exactly opposite direction superimpose each other, then the resultant displacement will be given by y, and y is equal to y1 plus y2. So let us add these two waves, a sine 2 pi by lambda Vt minus x and a sine 2 pi by lambda Vt plus x. So a will be common, so a is taken common here and the remaining things are put into the bracket. Right? Again see, this is sine c, this complete thing 2 pi by lambda into Vt minus x. So this complete thing is replaced by a letter c, and this complete thing 2 pi by lambda Vt plus x is replaced by a letter d. So it is nothing but sin c plus sin d. So sin c plus sin d is nothing but 2 sin c plus d divided by 2 into cos of c minus d divided by 2. So let us do some calculations, and finally we will get this particular formula. Y is equal to twice a cos of 2 pi x divided by lambda into sine of 2 pi Vt divided by lambda. So you see this particular wave, the resultant wave is also having the same frequency. Okay, it is also having the same frequency, that is v by lambda, right? And it is also having the same time period, and this complete thing 2a cos of 2 pi x divided by lambda, this is called as the amplitude of resultant wave. Now you see the amplitude, earlier the amplitude of the first wave was only a, and the amplitude of the second wave was also a. but the resultant wave after the superposition, the resultant wave is traveling with this particular amplitude twice a cos of 2 pi x divided by lambda. So you can easily see, because there is a cosine term inside this particular expression. Cosine term means what? It will be varying from 0 to maximum to 0, again 0 to maximum in the negative direction, again negative direction, maximum to 0. So it is a kind of alternating fluctuations. Okay, so this cosine term indicates that something is varying, sometimes something is changing. So if we are calling this complete thing as an amplitude, it means that the amplitude is continuously changing within this standing wave. Okay, so the amplitude is given by this particular thing. Okay, and we will represent now the amplitude by capital letter A. So the resultant wave will be y is equal to a sine 2 pi vt divided by lambda, and where a is equal to this thing is the amplitude of resultant wave, right? Now what will be the maximum value of this amplitude? You can easily see the amplitude of the wave is represented by a is equal to twice a cos of 2 pi x divided by lambda. Now 2 and a, these are the constants. Okay, only variable is cosine of 2 pi x divided by lambda. Now cos of some angle, and what is that angle? 2 pi x divided by lambda. So what will be the maximum value of this cos? You see, this particular entity is called as a amplitude. Now we will see that when this amplitude will become maximum and when it will become minimum or zero. So when this amplitude will become maximum, that particular positions will be the positions of antinodes, and when this amplitude will become zero, then that particular position will be the positions of the nodes. Okay, so when it will become maximum, when this cosine term will be maximum. Okay, because 2a is a constant, when this cos of some angle will be maximum, then only this capital A will also become maximum. Now what is the maximum possible value for cos? The maximum possible value for cos is plus or minus 1. So that is the maximum possible value. So either it should be plus 1 or it should be minus 1, right? So the maximum amplitude will be maximum, that will be plus minus 2a. Okay, because we are putting, you see, we are putting the value of cos of 2 pi x divided by lambda as plus minus 1. So the resultant value of a will be plus minus 2a. Okay, so the maximum amplitude, that is plus minus 2a, will be at points when this cos of 2 pi x divided by lambda will be plus minus 1. When this cos angle will be plus minus 1, then only the amplitude will be maximum. Now when this cos of angle will be plus minus 1, when this angle, that is 2 pi x divided by lambda, it should be either 0, then only cos of 0 will be plus minus 1. Okay, it should be either pi, you know that cos of 0 will be plus 1, cos of pi will be minus 1, cos of 2 pi will be again plus 1, cos of 4 pi will be minus 1. Okay, so likewise we will be getting different values of cos, right? And we will have this plus and minus 1. So when this 2 pi x divided by lambda will be having this much value, then only cos of 2 pi x divided by lambda will be plus minus 1, and then only amplitude will be equal to plus minus twice a, which is maximum. Okay, so the amplitude is maximum when this x equal to, since 2 pi x divided by lambda is equal to 0, then x will also equal to 0. When 2 pi x divided by lambda is equal to pi, then x will be equal to lambda by 2. Then 2 pi, instead of 2 pi, x will be equal to lambda. Instead of 3 pi, then it will be 3 lambda by 2, likewise. Okay, so when x is equal to these many values, then only amplitude will be maximum. So the particles situated at these points vibrate with maximum amplitude, and these points are called as antinodes. The distance between two successive antinodes is lambda by 2. How to find out distance between two successive antinodes? So you see, this is at x equal to 0, there is one antinode. At x equal to lambda by 2, there will be the another antinode. So just subtract this, lambda by 2 minus 0. So that will be lambda by 2. Now at lambda, there is another antinode. So just subtract this, lambda minus lambda by 2. So that will be again lambda by 2. So the distance between two successive antinodes is lambda by 2. Now let us find out where will be the positions of minimum amplitude or zero amplitude. So when cos of this angle will be equal to 0. Okay, When it was maximum, when cos of this angle will be plus minus 1. Now when this amplitude will be 0, when cos of this angle will be 0. And when cos of something will be 0, when this something, that is 2 pi x divided by lambda, will be equal to pi by 2, will be equal to 3 pi by 2, will be equal to 5 by pi by 2, then only cos of this angle will be equal to 0. And if 2 pi x divided by lambda is equal to pi by 2, then what will be the value of x? X will be equal to lambda by 4. When 2 pi x divided by lambda is equal to 3 pi by 2, then x will be equal to 3 lambda by 4, 5 lambda by 4, and so on. Okay, so these are the positions, that is at lambda by 4, 3 lambda by 4, 5 lambda by 4. These are the positions where the positions of nodes will be there, and at the positions of nodes, particles will not be vibrating at all, because at this particular position the amplitude would be 0. Okay, these positions are called as nodes, and distance between two nodes will be lambda by 2. So same calculation has to be done here. 3 lambda by 4 minus lambda by 4, that will be equal to lambda by 2. 5 lambda by 4 minus 3 lambda by 4, that will be equal to lambda by 4, lambda by 2. And if you want to find out distance between a node and antinode, so that will be lambda by 4. You see, distance between two antinodes is lambda by 2, distance between two nodes is lambda by 2, so lambda by 2 plus lambda by so the distance between a node and antinode will be lambda by 4. Okay, so this is the analytical treatment of the standing wave. Now what is the difference between normal progressive wave and the standing wave? So as I have already mentioned it, what are the differences, but still we will read this particular phenomena, okay, or topic. So in case of progressive wave, this is an advancing wave which moves in a medium continuously with finite velocity. So any progressive wave will move in a medium from one point to the another point with a finite velocity. However, in case of stationary waves, there is no advancement of wave in any direction. Wave will not move at all in any direction. That's why it is called as a stationary wave. Then in case of progressive wave, the energy flows in a direction of propagation. So it is very logical and obvious that wherever the wave will go, the energy will go along with it. Okay. In case of stationary wave, there is no flow of energy. In case of progressive wave, each particle of a medium executes simple harmonic motion about its mean position with the same amplitude. So in case of progressive wave, each particle in a medium executes simple harmonic motion about its mean position with same amplitude. However, in case of standing wave, you have to accept the nodes, because at nodes all the particles will be stationary, but if you accept the nodes, all the particles in the medium, they will execute simple harmonic motion with varying amplitude. We have just seen that amplitude will be different of every particle. So in case of progressive wave, no particle on the wave is permanently at rest. Actually, whenever there is a progressive wave, for example the sound wave, you will find out that every particle will be in motion. No particle will be at the position of rest. However, in case of stationary waves, there are the positions called as the nodes, where all the particles will be stationary. Again, in case of progressive wave, the phase of the wave varies continuously from point to point. So if you see the longitudinal wave, the phase of the wave will be varying continuously. Every particle will be having different position and different direction of velocity at every point. So that combination is called as a phase. So phase of the every particle will be varying continuously. However, in case of stationary waves, all the points between any pair of nodes, okay, if you see the diagram of the stationary wave, okay, so between the two pairs of any nodes, all the particle will be at same phase, but if the another node, after the another node, the phase of the particle will be changing, okay, the phase of the particle will be reversing actually. So this is the basic difference between a progressive wave and a stationary wave. Okay, now suppose a wave is moving in a medium, for example the sound wave. Sound wave will require some medium for its propagation. So suppose that the wave is moving in a medium. I want to find out its velocity. So how to find out the velocity of any longitudinal wave in a gaseous medium particularly, because we are considering the atmospheric medium, and atmospheric medium is nothing but the gaseous medium. So how to find out that particular velocity? So that we have to find out. Okay. Now let us look at this particular diagram. Actually, we are discussing, or we are finding the velocity of sound actually, right? So how the sound propagates? So I have already told you that suppose that I am speaking to you. Okay, so whenever I am speaking to you, it means that I am putting some of the energy in the medium, right? And because of that particular energy, what is happening inside the medium? The particles inside the medium, they are compressed at some certain positions, and they are rarefacted at another positions. So there will be the formation of compression, rarefaction, compression, rarefaction. Okay, and such a compression and rarefaction will be propagating within the medium, and we say that our sound wave or longitudinal wave is moving from one point to the another point. Now this much we have understood, that whenever the sound wave propagates or any longitudinal wave propagates, there is a formation of compression, rarefaction, compression, rarefaction. Okay, and every particle will be performing simple harmonic motion. Now what is happening at the place of compression? So if you look at the place of compression, then what will be happening? All the particles are coming close together. Okay, in a medium, there are the positions which are called as a condensation or compression. So at the place of compression, all the particles are coming close together. Okay, and at the place of rarefaction, all the particles are moving away from each other. So what we can say? We can say that at the positions of compression, there is an increased density of the particles. At the positions of rarefaction, there is decreased density of the particles. So whenever the sound wave is moving in the form of alternate compression and rarefaction, what we can say? The density is maximum at the place of compression, density is minimum at the place of rarefaction. So there is a variation of density within the sound wave. So how sound wave is propagating actually? I have already told you that the wave is nothing but one kind of disturbance, or wave is nothing but one kind of variation. So in case of sound wave, which is the thing which is varying actually? So it is the density of the particles which is varying. This density, this disturbance in the density is being propagated from one point to the another point. Okay, so this must be remembered. So it is the density which is changing within the sound wave. Okay, so that you should remember. Now let us consider that one of the sound wave is moving from left to right. Okay, so this is y-axis and this is x-axis. So our sound wave is moving from, for example, left to right. Okay, and there is a formation of compression and rarefaction. What you have to consider again? You have to consider two planes within this sound wave. So let us consider a plane A and another plane B. Okay, now you can see that this plane A and plane B, this is before the propagation of sound wave. This is before the propagation of sound wave, because we are considering these imaginary planes inside the medium. So whether the sound wave is propagating or not, the gaseous particles will be there, right? So we are considering one of the section of the gaseous particle which is represented by a letter A and letter B. The plane A of the gaseous medium is at a distance of x from certain origin. The plane B is at a distance of x plus dx from the origin. Now let us consider that the sound wave is propagated, and because of the propagation of the sound wave, this plane A is shifted to the another distance, is shifted to somewhat another position which is represented by A dash, and the plane B is also shifted to some another position which is represented by B dash. Remember that plane A and plane B, they are shifted with some different distances. Plane A is shifted to position A dash and plane B is shifted to position B dash. The distance between plane A and A dash is suppose y. Means how much distance the plane A has shifted actually? It has shifted the distance of y. Now you see how much distance the plane B will be shifted now. So actually the shifting of the plane B will depend on the shifting of the plane A. Okay, because the sound wave has disturbed this particular plane A and plane B. So the distance by which the plane A has shifted, this distance will determine the shifting of the plane B to some another position B dash. Okay. Now first we have to find out that how much plane A is shifted. Plane A is shifted y distance. Okay. And with respect to what this distance is changing? This distance is changing with respect to x. So if I want to find out how much plane A has shifted per unit distance of x, so this change of A per unit distance of x will be denoted by dy by dx. dy by dx. Okay. Remember that what is dy by dx? Change in y with respect to x. Change in y with respect to x. It means that it is telling us that how much plane A has been shifted per unit distance of x. Per unit distance of x. Right. So dy by dx is the change in y with respect to x. Now we are actually want to find out actually how much plane B is shifted to B dash. How much is this distance between plane B and B dash? So this particular distance will be y plus, because I have already told you that the shifting of B will depend on this y. So the distance between B and B dash will be y plus dy by dx into delta x. Why delta x? Because the distance between the plane A and B is delta x. Okay. See, first of all we have found out dy by dx. What dy by dx is telling us? Dy by dx is telling us rate of change of y with respect to x. And how much distance we have to change? We have to change a distance of delta x. So the resultant displacement of B will be y plus dy by dx into delta x. Okay. Again what we will consider, that the pressure, initial pressure or pressure at the plane A dash, because sound wave has propagated, so it has created a change in the density, and because of that there will be the change in the pressure also. So the pressure at the plane A is represented by P, and therefore pressure at plane B dash is also represented by P plus dP by dx into delta x. Why dP by dx? dP by dx is the rate of change of pressure with respect to small distance x. And how much distance we are moving? We are moving a distance of delta x, and therefore resultant pressure at P will be B dash will be P plus dP by dx into delta x. Okay. Okay. Now what we are left with? If we want to find out the volume, original volume of the gas between the plane A and B, you see, between the plane A and plane B, what is the volume? Actually we are considering this particular plane which are having unit cross section, means the area of this plane is 1. So how to find out the original volume? You see, what is the distance between origin and plane B? We want to find out the volume between the plane A and B. So what is the distance of plane B from the origin? It is x plus delta x. Okay, so what is the volume of plane B, means origin to plane B? It will be this much distance multiplied by area, and area is 1, because we are considering unit area of cross section. So x plus dx will be called as a final volume, and x will be called as a initial volume, right? So x plus dx minus x, so that will be delta x, because area is equal to 1. So original volume is given by delta x. The new volume, because the plane A has moved to the another position A dash, and plane B has moved to the another position B dash. So what will be the new volume? So again we have to calculate the final new volume. So what is that final new volume? You see, origin to plane B is x plus delta x, and again plane B to B dash is y plus dy by dx into delta x. Area is 1, so the final volume will be x plus delta x in plus x plus delta x plus y plus dy by dx into delta x. Okay, so x plus delta x plus y plus dy by dx into delta x, this will be the final volume minus initial volume. Initial volume is x, means 0 O to A dash. O to A dash, whatever volume is enclosed within this particular distance. So this much distance is x and this much distance is y. So x plus y. So x plus y and volume is, the area is 1. So therefore the initial volume will be x plus y. So it will be x plus y. So final volume minus initial volume. So we will be getting delta x into dy by dx into delta x. Okay. So this will be the original volume. This will be the final volume. So what we can find out? We can find out the increase in volume. So increase in volume is again final volume minus original volume. So final volume minus original volume, we are getting dy by dx into delta x. Now we have found out increase in volume and original volume. So there will be the volume strain. We can find out the strain in the volume, that is increase in volume divided by original volume. So for the volume strain, we get this formula dy by dx. So now we have found out the strain. We can also find out the stress. Now how to find out the stress, that we will see. So I have already told you that P be the pressure at plane A dash and P plus dP by dx into delta x be the pressure on the plane B dash. So what will be the resultant pressure? The resultant pressure acting on the volume element will be final pressure minus initial pressure. So Pp will get cancelled, dP by dx into delta x. Okay. So if we have the resultant pressure, the pressure causes stress in the sample, because force per unit area is nothing but the stress, and force per unit area is also the pressure. Therefore this pressure causes the stress. Okay. If K is called as a bulk modulus, of the gas, then according to the Hooke's law, what we can write? Hooke's law tells us that this K is equal to stress divided by strain, and stress is nothing but P. Actually it is written with minus sign. Okay, so why negative sign? Negative sign indicates that volume decreases when the pressure increases. Actually stress is related with the pressure and strain is related with the volume. But we know that when we increase the pressure, automatically volume is decreased. So in order to incorporate this particular fact, we have represented pressure as a negative sign. Okay. So this K will be equal to pressure divided by, stress divided by strain. Stress is pressure, that is minus P, and strain is dy by dx. So from this equation we get the value for P. P is equal to minus K dy by dx. Okay. Now the resultant pressure, you see, we have already seen in equation number 5, the resultant pressure is dP by dx into delta x. So dP by dx into delta x, and instead of P is minus K dy by dx. So P, that is minus K dy by dx into, okay, minus K dy by dx, and remaining things as it is. Okay, so let us differentiate this. K is constant, so it has taken out of the bracket d dx of dy by dx. So d2y by dx square into delta x. Okay, now this is the resultant pressure. Now what this resultant pressure will do? This increase in pressure or resultant pressure will constitute the restoring force, because you see the particles are performing the simple harmonic motion. So whenever the longitudinal wave will move, okay, there will be the formation of compression and rarefaction. So compression and rarefaction means what? Particles coming close together, particles moving away from each other. So coming close together, away from, moving away from each other. So this is nothing but one type of motion of the spring, mass attached with the spring. Okay, it is moving to and fro. So whenever there is a to and fro motion, or wherever there is a simple harmonic motion itself, there will be the restoring force. So who will create this restoring force? Actually restoring force will be created by this particular increase in pressure or resultant pressure. So restoring force is nothing but this thing, minus K d2y by dx square into delta x. Okay, now what was our intention? Actually we wanted to find out the value for velocity of longitudinal wave inside the gaseous medium, and we are left with the formula for restoring force. Now what this restoring, why we have arrived at this particular level? Because any kind of force is nothing but mass into acceleration, and from the acceleration we can get the value for velocity. Okay, so this is our target. So we have one formula for this restoring force, but alternatively we can also find out the formula for restoring force. How? Since we have considered the gas having the unit cross sectional area. Okay, so if rho is the density of the gas, then the mass of the sample between AB, okay, between the plane A and B, what is the mass? Mass will be equal to volume multiplied by density. So volume between the plane A and B is nothing but delta x, and the value of density is rho. Okay. So according to the Newton's second law of motion, force is equal to mass into acceleration. So instead of mass, we have to write rho into delta x, and instead of acceleration is nothing but d2y by dt square. Why with negative sign again? Because here the acceleration will be, in case of simple harmonic motion, the acceleration is always directed towards the mean position. It is opposite to the displacement, and therefore this particular fact is represented by minus sign, right? So we have one formula for force, that is restoring force, that is minus k d2y by dx square into delta x. We have obtained another formula for force as rho into delta x minus of d2y by dt square. So these two equations must be equal. So from 8 and 9, what we can write, these two equations are same, so negative sign will be cancelled out, okay, and remaining things, whatever things can be cancelled, this can be cancelled out. So finally we get this equation, d2y by dt square is equal to k by rho into d2y by dx square. So this is equation number 2. Now observe this particular equation. You see, the function y is changing with respect to time. The function y is also changing with respect to position. So it is nothing but the function y simultaneously changing with respect to space as well as with respect to time. So this thing is nothing but one kind of wave, and this k by rho must be related with the velocity of wave, because we have seen the formula, the standard equation of wave, which I have represented in the first slide itself, that d2y by dt square is equal to v square d2y by dx square. This is the standard wave equation. So if you compare this equation number 10 and 11, we get the value for velocity as v square is equal to k by rho. This v square must be equal to k by rho. So v must be equal to under root of k by rho. So this gives the velocity of sound in gases. This gives us the velocity of sound in gases. So in order to find out the velocity of longitudinal wave in the gaseous medium, what I need to find out? I need to find out what is the density of that gaseous medium and what is the bulk modulus of that gaseous medium. Now density we can easily find out, okay? We can collect some mass of the gas and we can find out what is its density. But what about the bulk modulus? Can we perform some experiments to determine the bulk modulus? So that experimentation will not be very easy. So we have to find out the alternate arrangement by which we can find out the value for this bulk modulus. Now there was a Newton who gave the recipe that how to find out the value for this bulk modulus for this air medium, and we will see whether he succeeded in calculating the value of velocity of sound in gaseous medium or not. Okay, so next we will discuss in the next lecture.